It's my opinion that Trump was a disaster on the environment. However, he was not very careful. And so almost every action he took can be reversed very quickly. So I think we will be back on track. I think we can think of this as 4 lost years, but we will recover. In the meantime, most energy and climate policy is decided state by state, and the states have very strong energy and climate policies. And then clean energy technology is getting cheaper. So we have actually made a lot of progress, even though we did not have any help from Washington. Most important way to think about energy and climate policy is sector by sector. So the easiest, fastest, and cheapest sector to reduce carbon, to eliminate carbon, is the electricity grid. And there are now many, many US utilities who are shutting down their coal plants and switching to solar and wind, and also geothermal and hydro and so forth. So there are commitments from many utilities to eliminate carbon dioxide altogether by 2035. And this is also the goal that President-elect Biden campaigned on. The next challenge is electric vehicles. If you have zero carbon electricity and an electric vehicle, then you have zero carbon transportation. And here there is what I would call a very healthy race between China and the United States. New vehicles, more and more of them sold, are electric. In California, they will not allow an internal combustion engine to be sold after 2035. I think China has something like a 60% EV sales by 2030. I see this as an opportunity, not a problem. So what I would like to see is collaborative work on pathways to zero. What's the pathway for buildings to go to zero carbon? What's the pathway for industry, for transportation, and the grid? And actually, probably in some ways, the most important goal is something like 90%, because even as we deploy what we know now and what we have invented now, we will invent new technologies. So I think we should have very firm targets for 2025, 2030, and 2035. If we do that, I'm confident we can land at a low carbon future, a clean environment future. But if we only have goals that are 2050 and beyond, it will not stimulate enough action today. And I believe that very strongly. I was very impressed with President Xi Jinping's statement of September 22nd, where he talked about climate neutrality by 2060, peaking before 2030, but he also said this needs to be based on international cooperation. It was an incredibly important signal to the whole world. And it was also, as I understand it, an incredibly important signal to Chinese ministries and Chinese provinces and Chinese industrial leaders. The announcement didn't have lots and lots of detail about what happens to vehicles in Guangdong province or what happens to coal-fired power plants in Shanxi. But it sent a clear signal that every single political leader is going to pay attention to, and already is. So I think this was very powerful. What now has to happen, which of course people recognized, is it needs to be hardened into specific targets in the 14th five-year plan. And it needs to be, there need to be hard requirements for each 5-year period, 2025, 2030, and so on. But he set the tone. He made it clear this was a global problem. He made it clear China would do its share. He asked for global cooperation, and he changed the whole picture. I think it's a brilliant move. I made 70 trips to China, and I have found time and time again incredibly smart, dedicated, capable people who want to land the whole world, including China, of course, in a better future. So I think we will pick up where we left off and go much further very quickly.